Have you ever stopped to consider what your own voice says about your destiny? Not the voice you use with others. Not the social one. I mean the one you speak when no one is watching. The voice that fills the silence when you're alone in front of the mirror. That voice either builds your future or buries it. You see, I've negotiated with presidents, dominated entire industries, and built one of the largest fortunes in the history of mankind. But nothing, absolutely nothing, was more decisive than how I learned to speak to myself. Because here's the truth, and it may sting a bit, you already have everything you need to transform your life in 3 days. The question is whether your inner voice will allow you. The man or woman you will become is already waiting. But the door to that future self is locked. And the key, my friend, is the way you speak to yourself. So let's get real. For the next 3 days, I want you to change the entire tone of your mind. I want you to stop begging the world for things you haven't even granted yourself. No more speaking like a victim. No more repeating the lies that were handed to you. I want you to speak to yourself as if your soul was born to lead nations, because it was. Now, here's what that means in practice. When you wake up, no matter where you are, no matter how broken your life feels, you stand up, you breathe deeply, and you say to yourself out loud, with authority, I do not need permission to rise. I was born to lead. My discipline is sacred. My time is valuable. My voice builds legacies. Say it again, but this time, with conviction, as if your ancestors were watching, as if your future grandchildren were listening. Because they are. Do you understand the weight of your words? Most people live as prisoners to their inner dialogue. They repeat phrases like, I'm tired, I can't change, it's too late. And they wonder why life doesn't shift. Let me tell you, life doesn't respond to weakness. It responds to clarity, to command, to leadership from within. That's why, for 3 days, I want you to practice the most powerful ritual of all. Speak to yourself with royal tone, with discipline, with truth, with fire. I'm not offering a motivational trick. I'm handing you the sword you'll need to cut through excuses and build a future worthy of your name. Every time you hear doubt whisper, you reply with authority. Thank you for your opinion, but I am not available for fear today. Every time your body resists your plan, you say, discomfort is temporary. Legacy is forever. And when the world ignores you, you say, let them underestimate me. I am preparing in silence what they will have to respect in public. That is how I built everything. Not by noise, not by luck, by speaking to myself in silence with discipline, direction, and unshakable vision. My father was a dishonest man. My circumstances were humble, but I never let that become my script. I rewrote my destiny through the private words I used inside my own mind. Understand this. Your mind is a factory, and your words are the commands that instruct that factory what to produce. If your inner speech is chaotic, your life will be too. But if you master your voice, the world will bend to your presence. So I ask you, for just 3 days, will you try this? Speak to yourself as the person you wish to become, not the person you fear you are. And speak with precision. Speak like an architect of greatness, not a wanderer of fate. Because you are not lost. You are being refined. And I will show you how. On the first morning, I want you to start your day with one declaration. Today, I speak with clarity. I command my mind. I lead my emotions. I serve my mission. And then, live like it's already true. Act accordingly. When you feel tired, tell yourself, my energy returns when I move toward purpose. When you're tempted to waste time, say, my time is not cheap. I invest it in the work of kings. And when that old voice returns, the one that reminds you of your failures, you respond, thank you for the lesson, but this is not who I am anymore. Let me tell you a secret. The richest men I've known weren't just disciplined with money. They were ruthless with their inner dialogue. They rejected every lie, every excuse, every whisper of mediocrity. They built empires first in silence. then in stone. And you can too. But it begins with 3 days of radical self-leadership. 3 days of cutting out the sarcasm, the complaints, the weakness disguised as humor. 3 days of speaking to yourself like a sovereign leader, not a follower of fear. And what will happen? Your physiology will change. Your posture will shift. Your decisions will gain weight. Because the world obeys those who lead themselves. If you knew how fast your life could change by mastering your voice for just 3 days, you wouldn't waste another hour. So I'll ask you again, not as a coach, but as your personal mentor. Will you do it? Will you wake up tomorrow and speak to yourself like your life depends on it? Because it does. The difference between a forgotten life and a legendary one is only one thing: the conversation you repeat when no one is watching. And if you can change that, you can change your entire world. Now let me leave you with one phrase you must repeat throughout these days, not as a chant, but as a vow. I lead, I decide, I build. I do not wait for permission. Say it again, and mean it. And if this resonates with you, if you're ready to take that first step, then I want you to go to the comments now and declare, I lead my mind. Starting now, you declared you would lead your mind. Now let's see what that really means. Because leadership, true leadership, begins in the dark. When no one is applauding. When no result has yet shown. When the only proof of your potential is the discipline you apply in private. Most people think they need motivation to act. That is the illusion of the weak. The real game begins when you act without motivation. When you speak to yourself like a builder speaks to stone, with certainty, with intent, and with patience. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect in action. So, let's get precise. Here's what I want you to do in this second day. The moment you wake up, you plant a sentence in your mind that becomes your compass for the entire day. You speak it aloud, slowly, with conviction, with posture, not like a child trying to convince himself, but like a ruler establishing the law of his land. And here's what you say: I control what I repeat. What I repeat becomes what I live. Today, I repeat what builds me. Say it, then act like it. From the first step you take out of bed, from the way you wash your face, to the way you breathe, to the way you sit, you live that sentence. You don't touch your phone. You don't scroll for permission. You don't negotiate with distraction. You execute. Why? Because for 3 days, you're commanding your inner factory. You're laying bricks. You're rewriting the software of your mind. And if you skip this part, you stay broke, emotionally, financially, spiritually, forever. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to tell you the cost of not taking command. Let's get deeper. You must understand this principle. Repetition is the religion of your results. Your mind worships what it hears the most. So, if you let your mornings begin with complaints, with gossip, with social media noise, that becomes your God. That becomes your script. That becomes your identity. But if you repeat power, you build power. So, for today, I want you to speak to yourself with precision, not just generic affirmations. Those are for amateurs. I want strategy. I want clarity. When you look at your bank account and feel anxiety, you say, this number is a report of my past. My future is created by what I do today. When you feel envy toward someone else's life, you say, I don't want what they have. I want what I'm building, and it's bigger. When your energy crashes in the afternoon, you say, fatigue is my test. My future doesn't wait. I execute tired. This is the language of leaders, of builders, of titans. You don't need comfort. You need alignment. And the fastest way to alignment is speaking to yourself with power and acting like you mean it. Me tell you what I used to do in my early years, when the world didn't know my name, and all I had was vision and ledger paper. Every morning, I spoke out loud to my future self. I said, you are the man who built the most efficient business. In America, you walk with dignity. You choose your actions with care. Your money multiplies because your mind is organized. I said that when I was broke. I said it when I had no factories. I said it before I had capital. And one day, the world caught up to my inner voice. That's what I want for you. You don't speak based on your conditions. You speak based on your calling. And here's what will start happening if you do this for just 3 days. You'll notice people reacting to you differently. Not because they know what you're doing, but because your energy shifts. Your eyes look different. You walk like you own your day because you do. You'll start making decisions faster. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who aren't building anything. You'll delete distractions without guilt. You'll become quiet, precise, efficient, like a weapon forged in purpose. And you'll start seeing something else. Results, small ones at first, but they come. A sale that seemed stuck suddenly closes. A conversation you were avoiding goes your way. A new idea shows up. That's the world reacting to your new tone. You are no longer passive. You are no longer begging. You are commanding, and the world obeys. But here's the warning. The old voice will fight back. It will whisper things like, "This isn't working. You're being dramatic. Just rest." Do not negotiate with that voice. That voice is poverty. That voice is laziness in disguise. That voice wants you average. And you were not born for average. You were born to build something that lasts. Something clean, strong, generational. So now, before this day ends, I want you to take 5 minutes. Go to a mirror. Look at yourself, not casually, not with judgment. Look like a strategist observing his most important asset. And you say, "This mind is mine. This day is mine. My legacy begins with the way I speak to myself now." Then go back to your notes, your business, your work, and build. Even if it's messy. Especially if it's uncomfortable. That's where your new voice becomes your new reality. Now, let me hear from you. If today you commit to this internal command, if you accept the challenge to keep building your new voice, then tell me right now, in the comments. I repeat, power. I lead with vision. Because once you write that, it's no longer theory, it's practice. And I'll be watching. You've made it through 2 days of commanding your voice. That alone already separates you from 90% of the world. Now comes the most dangerous moment, the midpoint. Because transformation always meets resistance on day 3. Not from the world, from within. Your old identity will try to reassert itself. Your past habits, your low standards. The people who only knew the older version of you, they will all whisper, "Come back, relax, you've done enough." That's when you double down. Because it's at this precise moment that most people give up on their evolution. They retreat. They say things like, "I'll try again next week." And they return to the same self-abandonment that's kept them small for years. But not you, because I taught myself this rule early. You must become most aggressive right when comfort returns. That's when you push harder, speak louder, execute sharper. Let me explain what happens in the mind. You've been wiring a new identity for 2 days. Repeating phrases that don't just sound strong, they are strong. You've been showing your subconscious that you are no longer here to be managed by feelings, but to be led by mission. But day 3 will test whether you believe that voice when nothing external has shifted yet. No applause, no reward, no permission. And that, my friend, is where leaders are born. In silence, in resistance, in friction. So let's go tactical. On this 3rd day, I want you to introduce a new tone to your voice. Not just clarity or confidence, but command. This is where you no longer hope to change. You order your reality to align with your standard. Wake up, stand tall, and declare, "I said what I said. I will do what I promised. My word is law in my world." This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You're no longer entertaining old patterns. You're not playing with fear. You're not negotiating with bad habits. You are establishing a code. And that code becomes culture. The culture of your life. You know what built my empire. It wasn't talent. It wasn't inheritance. It was culture. The culture I created in my own soul, a culture of order, of restraint, of focus, of control. And it began with how I spoke to myself when deals failed, when people lied, when numbers were low. I didn't say, I'm tired. I said, the greats are tired, and they build anyway. I didn't say, this is unfair. I said, let the weak cry. I will calculate and conquer. This mindset isn't for the faint. It's for the one who knows that life respects clarity more than complaints. So today, I want you to observe every word you use, every word to yourself, to others, even in casual conversations. You're either reinforcing your new identity or sabotaging it. Watch out for phrases like, I'll try, I'm not sure, we'll see, I'm just tired, it's not the right time. Those phrases are poison. They dilute your power. They make your subconscious doubt your leadership, and once your subconscious doubts you begin to spiral. That's how most people get stuck. They don't notice how their words are working against them. But not you. Not now. You're building a new throne, a new atmosphere. And that requires new language. Surgical language. Here's how you replace those phrases. Instead of I'll try, you say, I will. Instead of I don't know, you say, I will find out. Instead of I'm tired, you say, I have energy for what matters. Instead of it's not the right time, you say, now is always the time for alignment. This discipline is not small. It is the root of everything. Because once your voice becomes law, your mind becomes your servant, not your master. And when the mind serves you, anything becomes possible. You'll begin to see results that don't match your current reality, because you're already speaking from the next level. And reality follows language. That's how I built wealth. Not by magic, by precision. By knowing that the world becomes a mirror of the words we whisper most often. So let me give you your command for today. Say this aloud, not once, but 5 times. I command my time, I direct my mind, I build my future with discipline and fire. Say it slowly. Let each word dig deep. Let your body align to your tone. Let the world feel your presence shift. Because here's what you must understand. If you do this for 3 full days, without breaks, without compromise, you will feel a level of internal power that most people never taste in their lifetime. And once you feel it, you'll never go back. You'll start walking into rooms with stillness, not insecurity. You'll make decisions based on vision, not fear. You'll start attracting people, opportunities, and ideas that match your new frequency, not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. And that, my friend, is the beginning of empire. So don't stop now. You are not halfway through. You are halfway reborn, and I'm proud of you, not for speaking strong once, but for doing it consistently, because that is the sign of power. Now take this day and treat it like a battlefield. Your enemy is the old voice, the voice that kept you small, and your weapon is the new tone you speak to yourself with, again and again and again. Now tell me, are you still in the fight? If you are, then declare it now, out loud or in the comments. I speak like a builder, I think like a king, I lead from within. Let that be your war cry. If you've made it this far, then hear this. You're no longer just practicing a new habit, you're installing a new identity. A builder, a force, a leader in your own life. That's rare. That's dangerous, in the best sense of the word. But let me warn you of something few will ever tell you. Once your voice becomes strong, once you begin to command your energy, you will start losing people. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you finally stopped apologizing for your power. That's the price of becoming whole. People who were comfortable around your insecurity will feel threatened by your clarity. The ones who fed on your indecision will resent your newfound direction. And your old self, the one that relied on chaos, laziness, or passive waiting, will cry for attention. Don't listen. You are not here to be accepted by your past. You are here to become respected by your future. That's why, in this phase, your voice must evolve again. Not just powerful, not just disciplined, Now it must become quietly unshakable. You are no longer proving, you are declaring. Silently, precisely, consistently. This is the phase where kings rise, where builders enter a sacred zone of focus, where warriors walk alone, not out of loneliness, but out of clarity. So today, I want to introduce a new instruction for your inner voice. One that isn't about hype, noise, or repetition, but about command, presence. Here's what I want you to say, especially when no one is listening. I do not explain my standards, I live them. I do not chase validation, I embody truth. I do not panic, I prepare. This is the voice of someone who cannot be broken. You see, most people spend their lives trying to convince the world they are worth something. That's because, deep down, they haven't convinced themselves. But when your inner voice is calibrated, your walk says everything. You don't need to prove, you don't need to post. You don't even need to explain. Because those who know who they are, simply act like it. That's what I did in the hardest moments of my business life. When critics shouted, when politicians attacked, when newspapers lied, I didn't write long letters to defend myself. I simply built stronger systems, bought better assets, reinforced my network, strengthened my grip. That's what I want for you. Let your voice now move into a deeper tone, not just of passion, but of policy. Establish rules for your life. You don't negotiate with weakness. You don't compromise with drama. You don't lend your mind to anything that doesn't build you. From this point on, your inner voice speaks with policy. Every sentence reinforces your order. Every word reflects your empire. Let me give you some of mine. My focus is not for sale. Emotion does not make decisions here, data does. If it does not align with my vision, it does not enter my calendar. These are not motivational phrases. These are mental laws. Speak them, write them, review them before sleep, and most importantly, enforce them with action. If a habit, a relationship, a distraction violates your policy, it must go. Not with guilt, but with honor. Because your future is worth more than your comfort. Let me ask you something. Would a CEO of a billion-dollar company waste 2 hours in bed scrolling on his phone in the morning? Would a general in wartime spend energy arguing on social media? Would an empire builder spend his best mental hours talking about other people's lives? Exactly, so why do you? Because your voice still hasn't fully matured. But now, it will. Today, forward, your voice speaks with protocol, with purpose, with presence. And let me tell you something that may surprise you. When this happens, you will feel a calm you've never known. Because peace does not come from pleasure. Peace comes from precision. When your words match your walk. When your thoughts match your standards. When your vision is not just a dream, but a schedule. Then the anxiety disappears. Because your soul finally believes you. That's what I want you to feel today. So I challenge you now, for the next 12 hours, speak to yourself like a leader in every situation, not just in private, but especially in pressure. When you're interrupted, my time is valuable. I will return to what matters. When you're tempted to justify your goals to someone who doesn't get it, they don't need to understand. I need to deliver. When you start doubting your pace, I'm not late. I'm building for the long term. No rush. No pause. This voice, this internal atmosphere, it builds wealth. It builds power. It builds legacy. And let me tell you why this matters. Now more than ever. Because the world is loud, noisy, unfocused. People are drowning in attention addiction, in false urgency, in weak language. But you are learning to speak differently. And because of that, you will live differently. That's not theory. That's the law of identity. So remember, everything in your life is responding to your tone. You speak confused. Life gets messy. You speak vague. Results get blurry. You speak with strategy. And suddenly, everything begins to organize itself around your clarity. So go now. Not with noise, but with dominion, and do not explain. Simply lead. Now, Listen to me carefully. You've spoken to yourself with power for 3 days. You've shifted your tone from chaos to command. You've stopped apologizing for wanting more, and started walking like someone born to build legacy. You are not the same person you were 3 days ago. Your posture has changed. Your words have changed. Your decisions, even the smallest ones, are beginning to reflect something higher, something worthy. But now comes the real test, because the real battle is never in the decision to start. It's in the decision to continue when no one is watching anymore, when the video ends, when the voice fades, when the world returns to its noise and the people around you go back to being passive, reactive, tired. That's where most men quit. But not you, because you don't need a crowd to lead. You lead even in the desert. You lead even when no one claps. You lead even when your body says no, and your spirit says, I will not be moved. This final day is not about hype. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need hype anymore. This is the day your inner voice becomes law permanently. No negotiations, no resets, no rewinds. Let me teach you what I used to whisper to myself when I walked through fire, economic crashes, government investigations, betrayals from men I trusted. I would say, I am built for this. I am not here to survive. I am here to organize the chaos and profit from the storm. Those words were not just affirmations. They were orders. And they built empires. That's what I want you to take from me today. Not a motivational boost, but a new language, a new system, a new law of internal command that governs your entire life. From this day forward, you are not to speak casually about your dreams. You don't say hopefully, you say inevitably. You don't say maybe, you say definitely. You don't say one day. You say, I'm already building. Every sentence you speak either funds your future or funds your failure. Choose wisely. Now, let's talk future. 3 days may sound small, but 3 days of strategic inner command is enough to ignite a permanent shift. If you keep the code, what code? The one we built here, clarity before noise. No more starting the day in confusion. You speak direction before the world speaks distraction. Discipline before emotion. You do not follow your feelings. You use your words to direct them. Before conversation, you speak as a builder, as a strategist, as someone with vision, and most importantly, silence before applause. You don't speak to be praised. You speak to build. Let the results speak for you. If you keep this code, your entire life will change. I've seen it happen to men with nothing. I've watched broken lives become fortresses of wealth and peace simply because they stopped letting weak words govern their path. So let's end with this. I want you to look in the mirror one last time today, not like before. Not as someone trying to escape an old self, but as someone welcoming in a new empire. And I want you to say this aloud, as a final activation, as a vow to yourself, and to the life you are now constructing. I do not speak for comfort. I speak for clarity. I do not wait for motivation. I move with command. I do not live from memory. I live from vision. I am a leader, and my voice builds worlds. Say it and say it again tomorrow and the next, and watch how the world reorganizes itself around your presence. Because that's what leadership does. It doesn't ask. It acts. So go now. Go and lead your business with this tone. Lead your family with this tone. Lead your finances, your calendar, your mornings, your emotions with this tone. And remember, empires are not built with bricks alone. They are built, first, with words. And you, my friend, have just laid the foundation. If this voice awakened something in you, if you now speak differently, see differently, move differently, then share this with someone who's still trapped in silence. Give them this key, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to a new standard of living. Because your voice has changed. And that means your life has already begun to